Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I'm host A, and I'm here with host B. We are so thrilled you're tuning in today because we're going to demystify one of the most popular and honestly fascinating algorithms and artificial intelligence, k-means clustering. Hey guys, yeah, I am absolutely pumped for this one. If you're a college student, maybe a Python beginner, or an aspiring machine learning engineer, wrapping your head around k-means is a total must. It's essentially your ultimate tool for organizing massive, chaotic sets of data. Right, so let's just start with the big question here. How exactly do machines find patterns when we don't actually give them the answers?
Yeah, it's kind of wild to think about. But imagine you're organizing this huge basket of mixed fruits. Nobody handed you any labels, right? But you naturally just group the apples together, the oranges together, and the bananas together, just based purely on how similar they look and feel. K-means clustering works the exact same way. Just swap out the fruit for massive amounts of raw, unlabeled data.
Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're keeping it structured. We'll start with a quick welcome to unsupervised learning, define what k-means actually is, and then we'll literally walk through how it works step by step.
Yep, and after that, we'll cover how to choose the optimal K, the data prep and Python tools you'll need, and finally, wrap it up with some real-world machine learning applications.
All right, moving right along to our first section. Welcome to unsupervised learning, where it's all about finding those hidden patterns. So in the machine learning universe, you basically have this big divide. On one side, there's supervised learning. This is where your data already has labels. Think of something like the k-nearest neighbors algorithm. It looks at a new data point and classifies it based on a known, existing group of nearby points.
Exactly. But then on the flip side, we have unsupervised learning. And this is the world k-means lives in. Here, your data has absolutely zero labels. None. The machine's entire job is to uncover the hidden patterns and create those groupings entirely on its own.
Which brings us nicely to section 2. What is k-means clustering? Grouping by similarity. So, by definition, k-means clustering is an unsupervised learning algorithm that attempts to divide unlabeled data points into discrete groups based on their similarities. And you might be wondering, what does the k actually stand for? It's really simple. The k just represents the specific number of clusters you want to create. Like if you want to group students into 3 performance tiers, k equals 3. Categorizing products into 5 types, k is 5. You just pick the number and the algorithm does the heavy lifting to group similar observations together. And this brilliantly illustrates how it works in practice. Let's say we're looking at cloud computing infrastructure. Unsupervised learning analyzes corporate purchasing habits and might automatically discover 2 totally distinct groups: small to medium enterprises that just need basic web hosting, and large enterprises buying massive security firewalls. Right, and the craziest part is it identifies these 2 major customer types without a single person ever labeling the data as small or large in the first place. It just simplifies massive data sets and directly supports business decision-making. That's why it is such a game changer. Okay, section 3. Let's look under the hood at how k-means actually works, the step-by-step mechanics. The workflow here is actually this really beautiful continuous loop. First, you choose the value of k and initialize k number of epicenters. We call these centroids.
Next, the algorithm calculates the distance from every single data point to those centroids and assigns each point to whichever one is nearest.
After that, it recalculates the centroid of each cluster based on those new points. We call this whole process an iteration, and the model essentially just optimizes itself, repeating this assignment and update loop over and over until the clusters stabilize. Now, real quick, when we say calculate the distance, we're talking about Euclidean distance. Now, for the Python beginners out there, please do not let this math formula intimidate you. It is quite literally just the straight line distance between 2 points.
Spot on. It's just a simple geometric measurement. It's how the algorithm decides how similar 2 pieces of data actually are.
Okay, watch this closely as we step through an actual iteration. Step 1, we start with our original unclustered data. Just a scatter plot of raw, loose points waiting to be organized. Moving to step 2, let's say we decide we want 2 clusters, so k equals 2. The algorithm kicks off by randomly nominating 2 data points to act as our initial centroids. These are the starting epicenters for our soon-to-be clusters. Then, in step 3, the math kicks in. The algorithm calculates that Euclidean distance for every single point on the board. And it's kind of like a high-speed game of musical chairs, right? All the data points instantly rush to their closest centroid.
I absolutely love that analogy. And boom! Just like that, our very first clusters are formed, drawing a clear boundary between the 2 groups.
But we aren't done yet. For step 4, the algorithm looks at these new clusters and calculates their average, or the mean, x and y values. The centroids then physically move to that exact mathematical center of their newly captured data points.
And because those centroids just moved, the boundaries change. So in the next iteration, some of those data points might actually switch over to the other team.
Which brings us to step 5, the final step. And so the crucial point here is a vocabulary word you really need to know: convergence. Yes, convergence. This is the exact moment the centroids finally stop moving and the points stop switching clusters. The loop is officially over, the algorithm is complete, and it has successfully learned the hidden pattern.
All right, section 4, choosing the optimal K. How do we actually find the right number?
Yeah, because how do you know what number to pick for K in the first place? Think about it. If you set K to 1, everything's just one giant blob. If you set it to match your exact number of data points, well, every point is its own cluster. Neither of those is helpful.
And that brings us to the famous elbow method. If we chart this out, we plot the number of clusters on our x-axis and a metric called inertia on the y-axis. Inertia is just the within-cluster sum of squares, basically the variance inside the clusters.
Exactly. You want to look for that really pronounced kink or elbow in the line where the error drops significantly, but then just kind of levels off.
And a quick pro tip for our data science enthusiasts. Alongside the elbow method, you should always use the silhouette score. It helps double-check your math and ensures your clusters are actually well-defined.
But we gotta remind you, math isn't your only tool here. Sometimes the absolute best way to choose K is just trial and error, mixed with your own domain knowledge.
Totally. Say you manage an IT website. You might already suspect that new visitors and returning visitors have completely different behavioral patterns. You can literally just manually set K to 2 to test that exact hypothesis. Your real-world business expertise matters just as much as the algorithm.
Let's transition to section 5, data prep and Python tools. How do we actually build this thing? Okay, the foundation of any machine learning model is your data. And honestly, this is where we see the most common beginner mistakes. You absolutely have to handle your missing values and remove outliers before you even start. For sure. And we absolutely have to talk about feature scaling. Since k-means relies entirely on distance, if you ignore feature scaling and, say, leave one variable in the millions and another in the decimals, it will completely derail and ruin the model's accuracy. You always want to use tools like standard scaler or min-max scaler. Spot on. Also, double-check that any categorical data is properly encoded. And sometimes data scientists will even use dimensionality reduction techniques, like PCA, so they can actually visualize and interpret those high-dimensional cluster boundaries. So what actual Python tools does a beginner need to build this?
It's actually super accessible, which is great. You'll import pandas to clean your CSV data, NumPy for loading massive matrices, and matplotlib to visualize your scatter plots and color those clusters. Then for the algorithm itself, you just pull k-means straight from scikit-learn.
Yep. And from there, you typically use .fit_predict to train the model and assign the clusters in one fell swoop. You can check your results using .cluster_centers, .labels, and .inertia. It's literally just a few simple lines of code. All right, bringing it home with section 6, real-world machine learning and enterprise applications. Because k-means isn't just some academic exercise. In market research, real companies use it for market basket analysis and customer segmentation. In cybersecurity, it's actively used to group network behaviors so they can detect dangerous zero-day fraud attacks before they're even labeled.
And it doesn't stop there. It's heavily used in image compression, geographic information systems, social media analytics, smart agriculture, document clustering, and even medical diagnosis. It's literally everywhere.
All right, before we sign off, just a quick, rapid-fire reminder of best practices. Always scale your numerical features. Use the elbow method and silhouette score together. Try running k-means multiple times with different initializations, and definitely visualize your clusters whenever possible.
100%. It is an incredibly powerful piece of technology. So, now that you know exactly how machines find these hidden structures, from random centroids to convergent clusters, our final question for you is, what unlabeled data are you going to cluster first?
Go grab a dataset, fire up Python, and start discovering those hidden patterns. Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer, and keep learning.